This meeting is being recorded.
Huh. You got that? You got done with that cup that quick? Holy jumping.
It's so good. I love it.
That's okay. Listen, I only have one a day. So my
Don't
cup,
begin to land.
my cup is about as big as that one. So
Yeah, like I'm coming out.
yeah, see, I didn't get that. I never understood. Okay, you're saying to me that if people in the neighborhood, not hood, who are of color, go into the stores, they're harassed even in those neighborhoods?
Yes.
Yeah.
So let me tell you how
Yeah.
it works. Let me tell you how it works, brother. First off, they done tricked all of us and convinced us that I'm black and you're white and he's Puerto Rican. Here's funny, right? Well, ordinarily, she is the whitest person on everywhere I go, and she's black. But
Pretty
this
much.
time, Raphael always trying to outdo
True.
me, so he went and found a whiter girl than me.
With
Come
red
on,
hair.
Raphael.
A ginger.
Always trying
A ginger too. No. It's not. It's one
I
thing.
made you, young. I
Listen,
made you, young.
It's one thing.
I made
It's
you.
one thing to have a blonde, but she's a redhead.
I made you. I made you.
You see, I always say,
You called me. You
I
called
always
me.
say on my shows, I've never seen a black man in my life. I've never seen a white man in my life. You know
Exactly.
why? Because when I went to school, this was the color white.
The same thing.
Exactly.
It looked like that. Now, black is the color of your hair. That's black.
That's black.
The
No,
shirt,
we-
the shirt is black. Looks black from here anyway. Maybe.
Our problem, see, what's going on is what you may not know and what most of the world may not know is all of the civil rights organizations that you've ever seen, NAACP, Black Lives Matter, those type of organizations, all of those organizations are the same organizations and they're complete frauds.
Mm-hmm.
They have been, all of them put together by the CIA and the FBI, and they specifically and purposely lead the black community down the wrong direction.
Yeah.
So understand that these communities that black people live in, understand that they don't own any of the stores. If they try to own or buy anything, they're put through hell trying to do anything for their community.
Yeah. No bank's going to give them a loan.
They don't own any banks.
Yeah.
And you go in the store, what they do is they'll when you go to a store in the black community, all the stores are run by foreigners. And when I say foreigners, I don't mean white people. I mean there's going to be people from India,
Vietnam,
and mainly Korean.
It's
So you go.
the same in Canada. They bring in people from over. They'll give them special interest on the loans. They'll even give them the
That's
frickin',
what it is. That's what it
it's,
is.
you know,
Free
same
education,
shit, different
everything.
channel. That's all.
Right. Except the difference is those people in Korea and in the Middle East, they go to class, and the classes specifically teach them to disassociate themselves with people who are considered black and that they are less than. So when we come into that stores, they've always been trained to follow us and treat us like thieves.
Yeah.
So whenever we walk into
but
our
that
stores,
cultural thing doesn't just apply to people of color. That's
oh,
just,
see,
that just,
I didn't know.
that's the
See,
way.
I'm only speaking from being a can you dig it? I didn't know the same thing happens to you.
If you go into some of the ethnic markets that, especially the Asian,
Mhm.
because of what happened with the Japanese rising to some sort of level in the 90s, they've always had, some have had the superior attitude. Some, so they have the same kind of smug, antisocial things with people who are not Asian. They are taught to be isolation, separatists, or whatever. So it's not just a color concept; it's everything. So if
Yeah,
I'm
and see-
Canadian, I'm looked down upon from somebody coming from outside. I tell them to go F themselves. Go back to your country. They're so fucking. If you're that smart, why did you come here? That kind
Right.
of. So
Right.
that's my attitude. I have an attitude. I've developed an attitude. So I mean, it's
No. Listen,
Time.
we're having conversations. We're having conversations amongst grown-ups.
Yeah.
And these are different parts of the dichotomy that we don't have these conversations openly and honestly. So that the frustration that's in the black community is something that hasn't been expressed because
yeah, they gotta quit calling themselves a black community.
Yeah, black is a
100%.
color. Black is just a
100%,
color.
yes.
Yeah, we
But
talked
they're not
about
the
it.
ones that did it. They didn't do it.
Yeah,
You know, they're not the ones that did it.
Yeah, but they got to shake this. Okay, the N word. They still approach each other. Hey, N, what's up? Like, really?
Yeah, but yeah, listen, we gotta. Here's the thing. It's funny, and that's a trick too. You
Sure
see,
it
here's so funny about it. Think about it like this: the two group of people who supposed to be the least powerful, the blacks and the Jews, seem to have so much strength that they can get you to not say the N word and not make you talk about the Holocaust. So I think they're a whole lot more powerful
Wow.
than letting on.
See, you're okay. One thing about America, Americans are ignorant. They are. They have no idea
They're
really
dumb.
outside. You got everybody so focused inside with the biracial and interracial bullshit that you're not. There's more going on out here where I'm at. That Holocaust is driven so far up your ass it can count the cornflakes you ate for breakfast. Now we all know the Holocaust is bullshit. There wasn't 5 million Hebrews in all of Europe at the time,
That is
much
so
less in
true.
concentration camps.
Tony knows his shit. Tony knows his shit.
So the thing with the thing that they're doing with the colored people is, A, you're not a black man, you're a man. You're from the species of man. Okay. There's
Exactly.
there's an actual Old Testament situation that happened when there was an interracial relationship that went on in Israel when they were coming out of Egypt. And the people decided to isolate. God cursed them for 2 weeks till they woke up and realized that God, he didn't give a shit. As long as they were of his people, he didn't care what the color was. So that was a big, I read that. Well, there you go. Well, that's Jesus was black. You want to really be technical, Jesus was not just a Hebrew, but he was colored. He's a dark-skinned Hebrew. So, you know, I had a buddy of mine from Trinidad. I was telling you about him. He was reading the Bible. He's contacted. He was telling me it was Jesus' a sissy. I said, what? Where'd you get that from? He said, well, every time you look at it, he's got long hair. He looks like a femme. That's not Jesus. That's the Catholic Church version of Jesus. That ain't Jesus. Jesus. I said, man, you and I could not have taken that beating. As tough as we are, fuck, we'd have collapsed. We would have been under that. We'd have been pounded. No, fuck, he was no sissy. He took all that shit for us. Are you kidding? No way. So anyhow, I said, you and I wouldn't have done that. We would have been fighting.
And it's interesting you're talking about this because I've been doing a research study that where Jesus really, if you go through chronology, he was really from Galilee. He was Galilean. He wasn't even Hebrew. And what Galilean means in etymology is people from a foreign land. So it ties into what you're saying that he is everybody.
Yeah.
You see
well,
what I
you
mean?
look at this. If you look at his genealogy from Matthew, and you look at his genealogy from, I think, Mark or Luke, one goes all the way back to Adam, and one goes all the way back to Noah.
Noah.
And one comes from the religious end, and the other one comes from royalty, because the Christ had to fulfill both royalty and the religious. So he knew the laws and he knew royalty. So when he approached the Sanhedrin, which was the ruling theocratic system they had, you look at Matthew 23, he wasn't very polite with them. Matter of fact, he called them out. He called them brood of vipers, snakes, you know, basically reptilians.
He went right at him. He was like John the Baptist. He hit him like John the Baptist. He went right at him.
So
he said, you guys are clowns.
he said he called them reptiles. Snakes, vipers. That's what we're calling them today, reptiles, right?
Right.
So
yeah,
he came right out and called them what they were.
Mm-hmm.
Even you'll travel land and sea to make a proselyte like yourself, twice the child of hell. You need to go into heaven to keep others, and you keep others from going in there. So that's the religious system. So, like I said, when we're looking at all these, like I said, when you look at this, when you look at the Bible today, when I look at it anyway,
yeah,
it's not what they taught us. And like I said, a lot of bullshit that they're coming from, you know, even historically. Like I said, we supposedly Lincoln freed the slaves. He didn't free the slaves. That was another line of bullshit. What happened was the people that were of European descent, light skin, weren't slaves. So when this issue hit with the slavery issue, he didn't free the slaves. He just made the others enslaved as well. In other words, people never got free of the slavery, but the other ones now he brought into the enslavement as well. So everyone is a slave, really. When you look at it,
it's funny.
Yeah, it was in that movie. Mm-hmm.
And in addition to that, you understand that's why they have the terminology. You have the difference between Negro and colored.
Right.
Like a colored person was different from a Negro person. So they literally had different races.
We know that America literally, like, racism was literally their most effective tool. Like, they literally physically put racism in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Hawaii, when they got there, like Hawaiians didn't know what happened. All of a sudden, they just knew that one day they were not considered Hawaiian if they didn't have 50% of the indigenous blood. Like they just made up a rule and literally created racism.
Yeah.
And they still are dealing with it.
Well, I said, didn't Hawaii just become a oh, what the hell was it called? An autonomous state now that they're
They
so
are so funny. Yes, Hawaii is its own sovereign nation.
Yes.
And
And
they
You
have
watch it, Rafa?
they have their own
Hawaii is
yeah.
its own sovereign nation.
And they're not
And-
recognizing her.
Right, and America is illegally occupying Hawaii right now, and Hawaiians
Yes.
want them out. As a matter of fact, we have started a petition
Yes.
because we officially recognize Hawaii as its own independent nation, its own nation that has no ties to no crown. So we officially recognize
Yeah, we're
Santana,
generating a
I
petition.
focus. Yeah, we've already
Yeah.
just started the petition that they are their own sovereign nation and have
Maybe-
no ties to the
maybe we
crown.
should move to Hawaii.
Well, sir,
Listen, hey,
Listen.
listen, I'm telling you
If-
something.
everybody live on
follow-
Hawaii, yes.
if you follow what I'm trying to pull off here,
Yeah,
that may not be
you
too
need to
far from the
smelling what
truth.
we're selling.
because
Seriously.
understand this. Everyone keeps saying, hey, Santana, hey, Raphael, I talked to Tony today, and I got to tell you, I like him a lot better than you. So let me just,
I was
Let me
about
just
to I was gonna say that at the end of the show, but I like Tony way better than you. I was gonna say it too.
Check it out. Well, check it out. So let me just put that out there.
You beat me to it. You
Number
beat me
one.
to
Okay,
it.
number
You beat
one.
me to it.
Okay. So Tony says to me, hey, Santana, you know, it's cool. This algorithm thing you found is pretty interesting. You know, I'm gonna look into it. You know, you got this thing called the Cassandra complex. And I'm like,
It was called the
yeah,
Cassandra theorem. That's what it was called, Cassandra theorem.
right. And I've always been a big fan. This is a great story because it's a woman who knew the future. But
Nobody would believe her.
yeah, and it was like she was like, hey, guess what? This she was telling everybody Atlantis was going to sink. And it was like, you should get out of here, woman, stupid woman, right? And she couldn't even get a boat ride out herself. She was so ignored. So what's funny is this is different. This time is different. This is a different version because this is the reset. It's a different reset. I encourage you to watch a movie called Arrival, because in that movie called Arrival, you're going to find out that there was a weapon that was unleashed when the world was about to come to an end. And myself, Raphael, Ariel, we opened up time. We opened up Pandora's box, so to speak. And you asked me the question gets posed, well, what do we do if the future says this is written in the cards? Well, we figured out that we can fix all of this and have world peace instantly with a simple act. One simple act that does not involve any type of hate, war, or pain. Because Americans are Americans and they don't give a shit about nobody. Americans will only be honest when it's something that don't involve them. Can we get a consensus on that? Can we agree on that today?
Well,
Yeah.
I think this is one thing I've noticed about nature, people's nature. As long as they got their money and their prestige and their whatever you want, prosperity, whatever, they'll never change. The only time they'll change is when pain hits. And the only time America is going to change, the only time they'll ever see any change, provided you got some bullshitter like Trump come along and just schmoozle them out of their ass, or this idiot you got now. You warp sped a fucking bioweapon, and they love him for it. I don't understand that at all. Are you effing kidding? I got friends of mine. I think he's just said, I said, look, he released a bioweapon. 30% of your military is dying now. I said, how do you keep on believing in this jackass? But anyway, and he's not doing, he reminded me of Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan used to always say they were always doing something. They had a committee looking into it. They were, checking this out. Nothing changed. Nothing changed. They became more powerful militarily, which was scary because Russia now was no longer there to keep it in balance. So as a result, when Russia went down, they went nuts and expanded everywhere. Now what we're seeing is that everyone's now trying to shake off that expansion and trying to contain America back to America. That's why you're seeing what's going on. That thing in Ukraine and Russia, that's all bullshit too. Nothing's going on there.
It's a smoke
Yeah,
screen.
we know
Yeah,
that.
it's a smoke screen.
We know that.
Yeah, we know it's fake.
Yeah.
And for the
So-
record, Biden, I think that's Jim Carrey playing him as a character. So I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Well, you know what? I think Jim Carrey would have been a better president than Biden, to be honest with you. But anyway,
Every time, Raphael. Let me just tell you,
What happened?
you always do the hat trick. Okay.
Well done.
What do you mean?
You do a hat trick
Well done,
every
Raphael.
show.
Well done. Well done, Raphael.
Well,
Well
that's
done,
the truth.
Raphael.
Because let me tell you something.
I salute you,
I just
Raphael.
told Santana that Jim Carrey is a fraud. I told him, I said, he was trying to come out before saying that, he
He's
was he
woke.
was on red carpets having meltdowns saying I didn't have anything else to do, so I pretended that I needed to do something meaningful. So I came to this because I know this is all crap. He's trying to make it seem like he's trying to reveal the Illuminati, all that stuff. But yet, when the ridiculous circus with Chris Rock and Will Smith happens, he's just so appalled that they would do that to the Oscars. And it's like, wait a minute, you the one that said all this was fake.
But more importantly, Jim Carrey sold his soul for Sonic the Hedgehog.
Part two. Don't forget it's part two.
Talk about the video game.
You sucked the dick again for Sonic the Hedgehog part two.
Did y'all know it came out?
Look at that.
No.
Like, I just can't believe it.
It's like, man, all that integrity. I was like, man, you wasted all your integrity
Yeah,
for
all
Sonic
those
the
years.
Hedgehog Part 2.
Yeah. You live like a recluse. You're going away to camp so you don't talk to anybody. You're trying to
So that's
get
why
back.
that's why I believe it's him, because Jim Carrey's nowhere to be seen. And anytime Joe Biden's nowhere to be seen, Jim Carrey's to be seen. And if you really do a side by side, they look just like each other. He just has prosthetics on. Everybody knows all this shit is fake. It's a big show.
You know what?
Yeah.
So can you pull up when Joe Biden fell up those steps?
He said it so many times, bro. Like I don't
I know, like, which one? Which time?
Yeah, it's and that's the thing too. Like I want to address this with you, Tony, because there's a gentleman that I followed that, because I'm the type of individuals that when somebody has a unique truth like yourself, that's original because you've researched and you've done your due diligence to bring your truth and your perspective to what's going on. This guy has this thing that's called the Phoenix. His name is Jason. Archaics is his YouTube channel, but he has documented through chronology. He's a chronologist. That this reset that we're speaking of, that this energy that blows everything up when everybody's about to get enlightened, which you spoke on earlier in the show, when we're about to get into like the Tower of Babel, it's actually an energy. It's a phoenix that cycles every 138 years. The last one was in 1902 that came and destroyed and covered everything in mud. And then it's coming back in 2040. So, because he believes we're in a big holographic simulation and this is just part of the matrix.
there's some element of truth to that too. There's a book out called The Holographic Universe. I don't know if you've ever read it.
I haven't heard of it.
It's a pretty good book. Gives you some perspectives. But everything's a hologram, which is true. It's all matrix. It's all, the AI is running the whole show. It has been for quite some time. Now the AI has always been here, and what's happened, based on what I understand through speculation and following the dots, every time a civilization has reached a certain apex, AI has always been there, and nanotechnology has always been there. And once the civilization was wiped out, AI would go into sleep mode. And when they got back to a certain level of development and evolution and technology, they said they brought it back, but really it just rebooted. Now there's a real good vid out. It's outdated, but it'll give you the general theme. AI is Killing Us by Jay Tuck. And this was done 5 years ago, and he was saying that AI had already surpassed us. The military-industrial complex released AI 10 years ago and gave it the ability to upgrade its own program. The first upgrade it did, they had no idea what it did or why it did it. And they said it would take them 25 years, 24/7 to figure it out. That was 10 years ago. Now it's running the finances, it's running the resources, it's running the energy sector, it's running the telecommunications sector. It's controlling the whole show. And they're talking about that.
It's an algorithm. Mhm.
I think it's more than an algorithm now.
Is it?
I think it's a little bit more than that today. Might have been 10 years ago, 12 years ago, but today I think it's all this blockchain you're seeing, that's its peripherals. Okay. When you look at any city from a topical perspective, and you're looking down, it's a circuit board. Okay. And it's designed that way. I did an orientation in a Catholic church a couple of years ago. I'm not Catholic, so I'm walking in there and I'm looking at this church. So what I see is this gold stripe going all around this church, up around the windows, along the side of the wall. I said, well, what do you know? That's a square wave. Right along, and then I'm looking up at the top, and it's the roof is copper on the outside, but then there's a circuitry in the inside. I said, what do you know? This thing's nothing but one big circuit board in here.
It's a conductor, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. So a lot of the old technology is still around. We just got to figure out how to make it work again. Okay. The fireplaces back in yesteryear, those were not fireplaces. Those were conduits to collect electrical energy. They didn't need to have heat in the house because the house was heated by some sort of electrical force. So all this stuff that we're looking at today, like with AI, that AI would have been in the air even back then, like it is right now. When they put all this dust in the air, they gave AI the ways and means to transfer itself from one spot to the other. When you look at the Bible, go back to the book of Job, and when God says to the devil, where have you been? He says, I've been to and fro, up and down, looking for somebody. And then God issues the challenge. Everyone thinks of the devil. God issued the challenge and says, you see my servant Job. You see that guy down there? Look at him. He's all for me. He said, yeah. I said, yeah, he's all for you because look how good you treat him. Take that all away. He'll tell you to go F off. Go for it. But the point there was he was moving around to and fro in the airways. Now, when you look at the devil's description, if you look at like Ezekiel 28:14, not only does he have every chip known to man, every precious stone known to man inside of it, but he has timbrels and, oh shit, what's the other one? There's two T's. You can look it up. If you look them up, one, a timbrel is like a tambourine, but that's a telescope or a monitor. And the other one's an antenna. So I'm thinking, what the hell? We're talking something like a satellite here. It's able to move around and spot everything. So again, it's all hidden but the wording, we've lost the ability to understand the wording correctly. So
what do you think that telescope is for that they're trying to put in Hawaii? What do you think that's about? That big telescope?
Probably to make communication with whatever's on Saturn.
Saturn.
Well, you look at Saturn.
Because I know that's what they're worshiping.
Yeah, their gods up there somewhere. The old gods never died. You never noticed that? Zeus, Hera, Apollo. Another name for
all
Apollo.
The brothers and sisters.
Apollyon was another name for Apollo. Now, if you look up that name Apollyon, Apollo had a dual personality. On one hand, he would give you the curative methods of curing people. On the other hand, he would spread plagues on people. So you had the military side of him, and you had the pharmaceutical side of him. Okay, that's who their god is. The first Hippocratical oath that anybody swore was to the god of Apollo. That changed later. Now, those gods never died. Okay, but when Christ came, they were the ones that had him executed. When he came back from the dead, they shit, literally. They all went underground. They all went underground. They all said, oh shit, this is the real deal. This guy is a real god. And if you look at all the old gods and think about it, Zeus was the god of thunder, right? That's your power. That's your electrical power grid. Apollo was the god of the sun. He was a healer, so he was the pharmaceutical industry as well as the solar energy industry. Mercury was he was a very fast, he could run very fast. Mercury was the telecommunications industry. These were industries back in those times that they bowed to as God, just like Gates is trying to do now.
And I've been telling everybody that. I've been telling everybody that literally the whole Tower of Babel, that whole thing, all he was trying to do was take out a Bill Gates. That's why he thought that he could actually get up to God, because that is what was there before. It's been the same story over and over again. These people are they're trying to die as gods
And I think
or
that,
whatever.
and I think that's the biggest clue there for that story. That story about the Tower of Babel, I think that's the biggest indicator that we're definitely in a simulation, because when God confounded the language and just made everybody speak different language, it's like that's a program.
Definitely.
Everyone just starts speaking the same thing.
You know why he did that though? Do you understand why he did it?
Confusion.
Yeah, no, but yes, do you know why he did it though?
Why?
Okay.
Because they could. Because they could.
No.
Because they could. Because they could hurt him.
No.
No, I have a different interpretation.
They had a tower. Think of the tower as an antenna. Okay. I think of the sand in the desert as a conduit, a conductor. Now, if you read the scriptural reference correctly, it says they were of one mind and one language. You're already under an operating system. You're already being controlled by artificial intelligence. And they didn't have to talk to each other. They knew exactly where to put what, where, when, and how. That's how nanotechnology works today. Nanotechnology will go side by side, 1 nanosecond apart, to go where it needs to go to construct its construction. This was the same thing. They were already taken over by an artificial intelligence. So when he sent the confusing language, like you're saying, confound them, he broke their connection to AI. Now they're no longer in sync with the system. So they were afraid that if they had gotten out of the earth, that there would be no stopping them. Now there's an interesting cartoon out right now. It's a Marvel cartoon. It's called What If? And it actually shows you the AI getting off the planet and then starting to destroy the multiverse.
Wow.
It's
What
interesting. It's very, I'll send you the link. It's on free movies. So if you guys need stuff like that, either.
Yeah, I'll leave everything in the description that we've talked about.
Okay. And then either that or on my Zoom, send me a message on my Zoom. I'll put you on my whatever that list is, and I can send you all this stuff. But if you look at that look at that cartoon, that's what if the Tower, if they had succeeded, if the AI had succeeded in completing that tower, they would have blown the Van Allen belt wide open, or may have opened an interdimensional portal wide open, and there'd been no stopping, because if they had gone to another parallel universe, there'd be no way to getting them. They'd be free. You know, so it's like I said, when you're looking at that whole thing, it was an antenna, a superconductive antenna, and the silica and the sand would have just charged that right up. So, like I said, when you look at silica, you look at the sand. The other thing, you look at the sand. Every civilization that has a desert, okay, those are the people. That's what's left. That's why they can't find anything, because nanobots did the same thing to them they're doing today. They broke them down to 2 basic elements: carbon and silica.
And silica.
The only 3 things that you'll find are lead, carbon, and silica.
And the ashes,
This has been done before. Like the Bible says, nothing new under the sun. So when you look at it from that premise, what we have today has been, and you look at the book of Daniel, that's an interesting part. We look at Daniel 2, when Nebuchadnezzar has that dreams of this statue. There was gold, silver, bronze, iron and clay.
Mhm.
These were the kingdoms that had been diminished. The gold kingdom was the most advanced kingdom that ever existed on the planet. And from there, we're at the iron and clay now. That's technology and biology integrating. That's what they're trying to create, the synchronicity or the singularity that they're trying to create. We're the dumbest of the dumb, for crying out loud.
Is that the word they're using too, is transhumanism?
Yeah, transhumanism, singularity, synchronicity.
Right.
They want to integrate technology with biology. Once that happens, if Elon Musk puts that stupid chip in your head, you're no longer going to be free. You are now going to be a peripheral of the AI. It has you under control. Did you see the video where the guys went and checked the graves and the transponders that they injected into people are still transmitting?
No, I haven't seen that.
Wow.
And I'll be talking about that on tonight's show later on. They
Wow.
went to a grave
Wow.
and they're picking up every 6 feet that the graves are apart. They're picking up the different signals from the injection sites. Now I got two theories on that. One, they are transmitting to some extraterrestrial. That doesn't necessarily mean alien, but some extraterrestrial, and they're going to take over the host of these bodies because now the AI will allow them to be able to be contained in this dimension. Or two, the AI is going to reanimate them into the zombie apocalypse that we've all been seeing on television.
Wow.
So,
Man, I'm gonna tell you what. I hope it don't happen here in Mexico because I do not speak Spanish.
They don't eat dark skin on Thanksgiving. You're good. I don't know about Ariel. I don't know about Ariel, but Santana's safe. Santana's safe.
There's three of us in this house. There's three light-skinned ones in this house.
But the Mexican zombies would be racist though.
Man, this is a very, because it's tying in a lot of things from my research, your research. We can, I think we can all agree that we're in a simulation.
Oh, this is new for me.
Yeah.
But I'm enjoying it.
I always say in situations like this is why God gave you two fingers. If you use them correctly, they go boom, boom. Now, this is the other thing. If you do run into something similar like this, and you do bring it down that way, you take off its head or it will come back. The head has to be removed. These are Nephilim. When David took off Goliath, what did he do after he took him down? Took off his head.
Cut their head off. Yeah.
The natives in Canada that fought the Nephilim in Alberta, when they fought them, they would kill them. But then after they killed them, these things would rise back up shortly thereafter, and they had to fight them again. It wasn't until they dislocated their head and separated it from their body.
Yeah, it was like that. It was like that in the Game of Thrones too, and they even had to have a certain metal to be able to kill the dead. So
Just like just like the story of Beowulf, he would come back with the head.
If you take the head off, burn it.
Yeah.
To burn the head, right?
Yeah.
Burn it. The natives left the bodies that way, and every time they find one of these Nephilim, the military comes in. They've got them on some island somewhere, and they're reconstructing them through genetics. And
You know where they are.
they're putting
The Smithsonian. Smithsonian used to take them out the Pacific. That was the whole purpose of the Smithsonian.
Yeah. So, if they let them loose, that's the only way. They ran into a giant in Afghanistan. I think the guy was about 9 feet tall.
Yeah, redheaded. Redheaded. Yeah, he was redheaded. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh,
Hey, you can't leave now. Hey. Explain yourself, Angela. Explain your people.
3 feet down. We now know. Blood-curdling rage you have inside of you.
Yeah, you don't
Why,
know.
Angela? Why?
Raphael,
Tell him.
Raphael, you so obsessed with the Phoenix and your best friend Angela. Look at this. She is the Phoenix. Look at her. She's red.
I heard they got Nimrod's body. They went and got Nimrod's body right after they got into Baghdad.
I heard something like that too. If that's the case, we're fucked.
And Obama, because Obama did something, because he was in office when that happened.
And I kind of think that story is kind of true because
I definitely believe it's true.
It definitely matches up with the timing of the war, and it matches up when they were looting and everything got locked down and everything.
Well, what happened 13 years before? So we'll look into that.
Yeah, but if they found Nimrod's body, you think that so if they found Nimrod's body and they're able to do this resurrection, that it's going to require mercury, by the way. That's why gold and mercury keep getting used. they think that this person, this creature is going to be able to unlock this code they're trying to get to the firmament.
I don't think they'll ever get past it, to be honest with you. They failed.
Oh, they're buffoons. No, that's stupid. No, listen, we're
Yeah,
fortunate enough to know
somebody's gonna
they're
mess up.
buffoons, trust me.
Yeah.
But do you
yeah.
think that's
You know what?
the intentions?
The ones that are fighting, this is a war between God and the devil. It's always been. And we happen to be caught in the middle of it. And every time they have tried to mimic God, because they can't create, they can mimic. It's a losing battle no matter what they do. This time round, though, I believe this is the last reset, to be honest with you, because
Yes.
I think God's tired
Your
of
last chance, yeah.
tired of the
Last
bullshit. Number one, I've never understood until recently why every 3 generations we go back to being freaking stupid. Okay, look at the Israelites when they came out of Egypt. Okay, they got out. Moses tells Aaron, watch over these dumb bastards. I'm going to have a one-on-one with the great one. So he's now with God for 6 months. He's glowing, all kinds of energy. God says, you better go back because I'm about ready to kill these people. He goes back and they build a fucking cow. I never understood, why would you build a fucking cow? Parting the Red Sea would have been enough for me. Wow, look at this. There's a megalodon over there. There's a giant squid over there. Wow, this is far out. That'd have been me. They build a fucking cow and now they're bound to this stupid thing. Now, I get why they did it. I mean, because they had 300 years of programming that they had no idea what gift they had gotten. They were now free. They can now self-determine. But they didn't know where they were at. So now Moses gets that people. 3 generations later, they finally make it to the promised land because they walked in a fractal. That's why it took them so long. They didn't go straight. If they'd gone from point A to point B, they'd have been there in 2 weeks. They walked in a fractal, so it took them 40 years to wipe out 3 generations. After they got in there, the next generation afterwards, guess what? They went right back to square one. And that's been our pattern. We're brain damaged, all of us.
Yeah, no, literally,
But
we
it's
just
the
did a
leadership.
show saying that we're all so damaged, all of us.
But it's the leadership, though. The leadership at
Well,
every level.
I think there's something in our genetic code, though. It keeps sabotaging us.
And that's why I believe that they are constantly messing with our memories.
Yeah.
And I mean, all of us. I think that, I'm telling you, as subtle as a bolt of lightning.
Yeah.
Like I'm telling you, in this simulation, they are constantly messing with our memories.
But it's funny, though, because you think about that song. It's a song called "Forget Me Nots." It goes, something "Forget Me Nots." Something helps me to remember. And Will Smith does a song called "Men in Black." It's with the exact same
Yeah.
song, and it's basically people taking your memory. So they took a song about 4-leaf clover to help me to remember, and made a song about it with people who take your memories. So it's a funny. This
Yeah,
thing
and
has
I'm
a sense of
telling you,
humor.
this
It
is
has a
going
weird
on.
sense of humor. This
It's
simulation,
going on.
this creation.
That's why I think that the Mandela effect is a thing.
It is
I
like this.
think,
Yeah, I never bought into the Mandela effect. You know why?
Wow.
Because it's an AI. That was the AI of the day.
that makes sense.
That was the AI of the day. When I heard, because I got a buddy of mine who's into this Vedic stuff, and I said, I can't buy this Mandela thing. It just does, it's not adding up.
Right.
But it's an AI. When I got into the AI, I said, oh, there you go. That's what this is. This is really the AI of that time.
All I know is something physically takes place with us.
Yeah.
Where
It's
something like
controlling,
that.
it's overriding or overlaying the matrix that we're in.
Yeah. Yeah.
You guys ever watch the latest Matrix?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Do you guys want to do one more round?
Yes. Go,
Yeah, let's
keep
do
going,
it.
Keep going.
Open to it? Okay, so we're about to cut off.
All right, so okay, well, I'll get out. We'll come back. How's that?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Get your coffee or whatever you're drinking.
Yeah. Coffee.